As a heads up, I highly recommend checking out my Birdo video before you continue watching this one. I always considered this video to be a continuation of Birdo, as both videos explain the treatment of the two trans characters that exist within the Mario universe. I also feel like currently my Birdo video is the best one yet, so go watch it. While Birdo being trans isn't exactly a huge secret, especially considering how our old character descriptions always like to offensively refer to Birdo as a boy who thinks he is a girl, this other trans character wasn't advertised as such. A lot of people likely won't even know who this character is. Unlike Birdo, who has earned some mainstream appeal as shown by her many appearances in spin-off titles, our little star for this episode has only appeared as a prominent role in one game. Outside of a couple cameos here and there, she only really exists in the realm of obscurity in this day and age. What game does our mystery character reside in? Let's take a trip into my totally real and not just an effect I like to make time loop and find out. It's time to get off that couch, crack those fingers, and journey back to 2004 in this episode of Gonzo Media. My first playthrough of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door was an amazing experience. I remember being a young 9-year-old kid who would continually read through the Paper Mario news that my issue of Nintendo Power had provided me. The cool, upgraded power that only the GameCube could provide told my pre-adolescent brain that Thousand-Year Door is going to be the hottest thing since sliced bread. To this day, I still feel like that isn't far off. I received the Thousand-Year Door as a present for my 10th birthday, and I never would have guessed that those first steps into Rogueport would change my life forever. Nostalgic memories aside, Thousand-Year Door is still a really good game, and I easily recommend the title for anyone out there that enjoys a well-written RPG. However, you're not here to listen to me geek out about a game I love. You are here to find out about the Mario franchise's second transgender character. This character, drumroll please, is the cute shadow person, Vivian. Vivian, much like Birdo, originated as a villain in her first appearance. The character is first seen in Chapter 2, The Great Boogly Tree, with their two sisters, Beldam and Marilyn. The trio refers to themselves as the Shadow Sirens, and they definitely are quite the interesting bunch. The Shadow Sirens' main goal is to release the Thousand-Year Door's big bad, the Shadow Queen, from her tomb behind the, well, Thousand-Year Door. It is actually revealed that one of the sisters, Beldam, was the person that sold Princess Peach the magical map in the beginning of the game, and was also the one to spread the rumors of the treasure in order to find a pure-hearted maiden. Beldam acts as the group leader and is definitely the meanest of the three and has the power of ice. Tsundere, she definitely is not. Marilyn is the large one, who's high intelligence.
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts.
Leads her to saying things like, the three, and Gah. Marilyn also has very powerful lightning attacks. Shocking, I know. Vivian, the most important of the three and our main subject for this video, is the black sheep of the sisters. Vivian, if you haven't picked up on the color-codedness of the sirens' hats, has the ability to control fire. Vivian is a prime example of the shrinking violet trope. Vivian is a really sweet gal, who unfortunately is also really shy and reserved, which actually ties in really well with her veil technique. This technique allows Vivian to disappear into the shadows, which is definitely a skill I bet most reserved people wish they had. Her timid nature though sadly makes her a main target for the ridicule of Beldam, who throughout the game constantly blames Vivian for her own mistakes. The Shadow Sirens don't exactly have the healthiest family dynamic. You only ever actually fight the Shadow Sirens at 2 points in the game, but they are a very important part of the overall story, and as I mentioned earlier, they are actually responsible for kickstarting the entire game.
Mario's newest adventure unfolds as he takes to the sky, land, and sea in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, only for Nintendo GameCube, rated E for everyone.
Another similarity between Vivian and Birdo is that Vivian also ends up becoming a protagonist. Vivian's heel-face turn occurs when she joins Mario during Chapter 4, For Pigs the Bell Tolls. Oh no, my mic fell. This chapter takes Mario and his motley crew to Twilight Town, which has been stricken by a terrible curse. Whenever a bell is struck, one of the Twilighters is turned into an oinker. What is with Japan's fascination with turning people into pigs anyway? Does anyone remember that scene in Spirited Away where Chihiro's parents' gluttony turns them into pigs? That scene haunted young 7-year-old me. Anyway, Mario eventually makes it to the top of the creepy steeple, where he encounters everyone's favorite doppelganger, Dupless. You end up fighting Dupless in his tower, and after a fun boss battle, Mario emerges victorious. Or so the game makes you think. During the battle, Dupless successfully managed to take control over Mario's body and name, turning the real Mario into a silhouette. This was an interesting twist that totally caught young me by surprise my first playthrough. I actually remember just standing around not doing anything for 5 minutes just waiting for the game to continue. The twist was just that good for me at the time. Mario, now literally a shadow of his former self, follows Dupless and his friends back to Twilight Town, where he finds Vivian looking for a weapon named the Super Bomb Bomb. The weapon was lost by Beldum earlier, who quickly blamed Vivian for losing it and threatened Vivian that she will be punished if she does not find the weapon. Mario, seeing the sad and distraught Vivian, helps her find the Super Bomb Bomb. Vivian, not realizing that the shadow being is actually Mario, promises to help him out in his quest. The two of them eventually meet up with Dupless and Mario's friends, who reveals to Vivian that she has been traveling with her enemy this entire time. Vivian then faces the conflict of leaving the Shadow Sirens, or saving Mario from being killed by Dupless. After some time of thinking about this, which pretty much equals 2 turns of combat, Vivian makes up her mind and joins Mario, saving him and joining his party for the remaining duration of the game. The reason Vivian's trans status isn't super widely known is because in many parts of the world, namely a lot of English-speaking countries and Germany, Nintendo translators try to remove that little tidbit. Instead of being a trans woman that has to face ridicule from her family due to her being born a certain way, the English versions have Bedlam insult Vivian for being ugly. I never really understood why Vivian was treated poorly by her sisters while I was growing up. She is clearly the cutest of the 3, so the constant and malicious nature of all the ugly comments didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I kind of just assumed that the translators were attempting to make a joke about it, or that Bedlam's contempt towards her sister comes from a personal level of insecurity. While a character learning and developing confidence is fine and dandy, it just lacks the impact of a character learning to adapt and becoming confident with who they are. Vivian's relationship with her sisters in the early part of the game sadly represents problems that reside in the LGBTQ+ community. There are a lot of individuals on the spectrum who face scrutinization from their family for being different. And it's a damn shame we didn't get proper representation from Vivian here in the States. Vivian's representation isn't perfect, however. Just like how Birdo had to live with the "he thinks he is a girl" for a few years, Vivian has definitely had difficulties with pronouns and people not taking being transgender seriously enough. The game constantly refers to Vivian using the masculine pronouns otoko and ototo, both through the dialogue and narrative text. For example, here is the description Goombek gives us about Vivian using her tattle ability.
When in the Shadow group, Vivian appears to be a girl but is really a boy.
In the English version, Goombet's tattle is simply, "That's Vivian. She's the youngest of the 3 Shadow Sirens." The English description, one of the Shadow Sirens, Vivian suffers from a bit of an inferiority complex, is much better. Not only because it genders Vivian correctly, but it also actually tells the player an aspect of the character. No matter what version of the game you play, Vivian's inferiority complex is always played with in some extent or another. Even though the main party isn't nearly as harsh as Vivian's sisters are about her gender, the lack of acknowledgement about Vivian being trans is still one of the things that has aged the worst in the game. A wonderful story? Good. Nice, beautiful graphics? Good. A wonderful and engaging turn-based battle system? Good. Lacking the proper representation for your trans video game character? Bad. Uh-oh, guess I should probably fix that. All done. Vivian's misgendering is also present in her cameo appearances as a catch card in Super Paper Mario, where she is referred to as Otoko no Ko. Vivian's cameo appearances in Smash 4 and Ultimate don't have any text descriptions associated with them, so it is unclear if the company has decided to gender Vivian more appropriately in this day and age. It's a real shame that English-speaking countries removed all of the trans aspects from Vivian's character. While Japan's way of referring to the character wasn't the best, they were still able to tell a compelling character arc. As soon as Vivian joins the party, she quickly develops into a strong woman and learns to respect herself and her identity, which eventually leads her sisters to understand and respect her as well. The Italian version of Thousand Year Door seems to be the most respectful towards Vivian's trans identity. This can be seen when we first meet the Shadow Sirens, who are known as the Tre Sorelle Ombra in Italy. When Vivian shares their title to Mario and his gang, Beldam quickly corrects her by saying they are the more gender-neutral Trisdombra before calling her out for lying about being a girl. This brings Vivian to admit that while she wasn't born as a girl physically like her sisters, she feels like a woman too and is proud of it. To my knowledge, this is probably the first time where a character self-proclaims to be trans in a mainstream game. Kudos to you, Italian Thousand Year Door translators.
Peran. Peran. Pera Pera Mario no Fushigina Daiboken. Nintendo GameCube Paper Mario RPG.
It's a huge shame that since Nintendo decided to completely revamp the Paper Mario series, we may never see Vivian in a role again. Even though the Mario RPG games tend to not reuse party members, a feature I actually really enjoyed about the games, it would have been really nice to see how Vivian has grown ever since their epic battle against the Shadow Queen. As for now, I guess I just have to be satisfied with keeping her as a level 99 spirit in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Vivian is a great trans character, and in many ways, or in different languages, acts as a better form of representation than Birdo. The reason I think this is due to what I feel Vivian represents. The character represents the hardships that not only trans people, but people throughout the LGBTQ+ community have to face. Life is hard for everybody. Life is even harder when even your own family doesn't support you. Vivian clearly lacks the support of her sisters, but she never lets it change who she is. In this way, Vivian shows how important it is to be resilient, and how you have to be confident in who you are, regardless of the world's challenges. Vivian also shows the importance of finding a support group and to help them, just as much as they help you. Mario wouldn't have been able to save the world if Vivian didn't save him from Creepy Steeple, and their friendship gave Vivian the power she needed to save herself. Vivian also represents forgiveness, as it takes a lot to forgive people who have harmed you in the past, which Vivian is able to easily do with her sisters. Vivian is a character that I strive to be like, and that right there is what makes great representation for a character. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed my video, please like and subscribe. Every little bit of a commitment helps my channel out a lot. Also, if you have or know of any other trans or LGBTQ+ character that you would like me to talk about, leave a comment down below. I love doing these videos and I definitely would take any inspiration wherever it comes from. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I highly encourage all of you to try Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.